with a WWE star set to make his return from injury this week in a huge potential comeback for the Royal Rumble. Rumored. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for January 25th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. WWE entrance themes these days seem to lack character for the pro wrestling stars they are meant for. Many would like to see some stars have their old themes back, as Sheamus noted on Daily DDT that Vince McMahon hates his original entrance song. When it came back, I really wanted to bring that song back, but it was shot down. Vince hates it. Some other people didn't like it or didn't care, but it's very nostalgic. I haven't given up on it. I guarantee you I will get that song back. I just don't know when, and nobody is going to know when, but I will get a chance to bring it back. On the Wrestling Perspective podcast, Matt Hardy touched on reuniting with his brother Jeff for their upcoming appearance at Big Time Wrestling in March, saying Jeff's passion has been renewed following his WWE release. When it comes to myself and Jeff teaming up being the Hardy Boys, it's like riding a bike. You just get back on and start pedaling. It's business as usual. That's one thing that is really cool. I've literally been there since this guy was born. We know each other inside and out, and it's going to be fun. Jeff's excitement and passion for wrestling has been so renewed now that he has his new horizon in front of him. Very excited about that. Without going too much into detail, I'm very excited to where 2022 is going to take the Hardy Boys. I feel like it's going to be a great year for Matt and Jeff. Known in WWE as Tom Phillips, Tom Hannifan would end up released from the company in May as he finds himself commentating now for Impact Wrestling. Speaking to Jarrett Bailey, Hannifan recalled his experience being cut by WWE, saying, "I think the out of the blue part was obviously after I was released from WWE. I needed to take some time for myself, and I was just kind of, it was a very challenging situation. It is extremely emotional, and there was part of me that was like, maybe I'm done in wrestling. Maybe this is it." And a couple months went by, and I was really, okay with it. Everything was feeling good, and then just talking to a lot of friends in the business, friends that worked at Impact Wrestling, it was just kind of learning that there are other options. There's other ways to go. There's other places where it's going to be just a different experience, and I might like it. So within the last month, I'd say somewhere in December, started talking with some friends that are over at Impact, and they connected me with the powers that be, and I just really liked everything that I heard. Speaking with Josh Matthews, who ironically did my audition at WWE, so you just never know who you're gonna run into again. So I had a really good conversation with him. Talking to Scott D'Amore has been awesome. He's been really good to me, and I just try to be as transparent as possible with him, just in terms of how I'm feeling about everything. And after Hard to Kill, I told him, I was like, I got my passion back, so I said thank you. So I'm really enjoying everything thus far, and it just kind of materialized quickly, kind of like how things do in wrestling. You never know when it's gonna come up, and it's just try to be ready. Talking about his previous COVID diagnosis and missing time in WWE, Randy Orton spoke on the Ringer Wrestling show, revealing that he missed many weeks and lost a lot of weight. "In June, I got COVID. I missed 7 weeks of TV because my blood inflammation levels were so high that they were worried. I lost 20 pounds during COVID. I had it so bad. I was stick skinny, stick thin. I had a chance to rebuild. I'm either going to do it this way or I'm going to do it that way. I cut the alcohol. I cut the sugar. I started training a little harder. I started seeing another physical therapist for some issues with my shoulder and my back, because we're always staying up on those injuries. Here we are 6 months later, and I think I'm feeling the best that I've physically felt since I can remember, to be honest with you." Thankfully, Orton was able to recover, with him continuing to tag with his RK Bro partner Matt Riddle. On Raw last night, Lashley and Lesnar had their weigh-in segment with it revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio by Dave Meltzer that the weights used were apparently off. You know those weights are worked, right? It might be more for all I know. The whole thing is a work, because the deal is they decided that since Lashley is announced at 273 pounds and Lesnar is now at 286, that's gonna be the numbers. So everything about that was just, that was the decision Vince made, that our announced weights have to be real. So therefore, when they weigh in, it has to be exactly their announced weights, no matter what they actually weigh. Regardless of the weight, fans are sure to be excited for this dream match. With WWE bringing back many for the Royal Rumble, it was revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio that multiple NXT stars will be on deck for the upcoming pay-per-view. I don't know if they're going to be in the Rumble, but I do know that several NXT men and women are scheduled to be there. I don't know if they are there to be in the Rumble or there to be alternates, because if they have 30 people in the Rumble, you better, in this day and age, have 3 alternates, because there's a good chance that several people will be sick come the day of the show. I know like Braun Breaker and Gunther are going and probably are in the Rumble. I don't know the women. I believe Raquel Gonzalez. But I think a couple of the women are supposed to go there and probably be in the Rumble, because getting 30 women is not easy. It was also noted by Brian Alvarez that there will be one huge return for the Men's Royal Rumble, so we'll have to see who it is. Speaking of the Royal Rumble, Jackass star Johnny Knoxville is set to be involved in the event, but it will be a one-off according to WrestleVotes. Source states Johnny Knoxville's Royal Rumble involvement is slated to be Rumble only and done on Saturday. However, WWE is indeed working on another celebrity appearance for WrestleMania. I asked who and couldn't get a name, either because it's top secret, unlikely, or it's undecided. Following a return to WWE, Lita is set to be involved in the Women's Royal Rumble. Talking on Throwing Down, the WWE Hall of Famer revealed she wants a match against Becky Lynch. Charlotte and I started something last week, so I wouldn't mind getting the better of her, but also there's just something with Becky. I honestly feel very connected to her, like our journeys getting into the business and everything, that I'd love to see what that looks like. At the Rumble, Lynch will be defending her Raw Women's title against Doudrop, so we'll have to see if a bout with Lita takes place after. While he was set to make an in-ring return for NXT in December, Brian Kendrick never made his way back to the ring. This coincided with many releases, but Kendrick was not a part of those cuts. Still, he requested his release weeks ago, which has not been granted according to PW Insider. We can confirm that Brian Kendrick, who had most recently been working as a producer on NXT and 205 Live, has requested a release from the company weeks ago, and has not been to any TV tapings in Orlando in some time. We were told Kendrick has been waiting for a release at least 6 weeks. AEW made a great acquisition in the form of pro wrestling legend Sting. On last week's Dynamite, Sting and Darby Allin faced off against the Acclaimed, where the Icon went off the ramp for a splash to put Max Caster through a table. On his podcast, Jim Cornette made his feelings known about Sting taking risks like these. Sting is 62, and then he has to make another comeback, go out to the stage and dive off the stage and put Caster through the table with a splash. They are determined to kill Sting, and I'm definitely not talking about killing his gimmick. I'm talking about killing him physically. There was no reason to do that. With him having been out of action since the 13th with a calf injury, Xavier Woods is reportedly set to make his comeback. As PW Insider noted, the New Day's Xavier Woods is expected to return to the road for the company as of this Friday's SmackDown taping in Kansas City. We are told Woods is expected to be back regularly on the road going forward, but there's no word as to whether he has been cleared to return to the ring to wrestle. When it comes to big returns for the Women's Royal Rumble, former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Ronda Rousey could be making her comeback to the company at the pay-per-view, as Fightful noted. A Ronda Rousey return has been discussed internally, to the point that it's considered a poorly kept secret. Has been mentioned to talent outside the company. Rousey was a name tossed around as a potential Royal Rumble entrant, or at least to have some participation in the Rumble. This would be mentioned on Wrestling Observer Radio, with Dave Meltzer saying Rousey could be in line for a victory in the Rumble. The problem is that if she's in the Rumble, does that mean she's going to win the Rumble? If she's going to come in and get thrown around, it'll be kind of nothing, especially if she's going to be like a big headliner at WrestleMania. It has now been reported that a WWE official met with Rousey about a potential comeback, with PW Insider reporting that at least one WWE official flew after TV last week to California to meet with Rousey. We can also confirm that according to WWE sources, Rousey's makeup artist and stylist when she last worked for WWE, Abraham Esparza, is slated to be at the pay-per-view and Raw this coming week. We are told that has been locked in for weeks and weeks. In speaking to a number of sources who are intricately aware of Rumble plans, we were told it's all on Rousey and whether she wants to pull the trigger on her return, but the company is ready for it and wants it for WrestleMania. Rousey versus Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair would obviously add some juice to WrestleMania 38 if they go in that direction. Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch would react to reports of Ronda coming back, writing, "Was wondering if you'd show up again. I've still got a Raw Women's Championship, and she's doing great." After making his return to AEW, Jon Moxley had a heartfelt moment with fans in attendance, but Bully Ray felt that Moxley should have apologized to fans for his absence. On the Throwing Down podcast, Moxley's wife Renee Paquette said Bully Ray should be the one to apologize, saying this about the situation. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. So just for context for anyone who doesn't know, Bully said that he thought that Jon should have apologized to the audience and apologized. Bully said he doesn't necessarily have to apologize to the boys in the back and the girls in the back for the time that was taken off, but people that have bought tickets and wanted to see Moxley and blah blah blah, and there could not be a more BS trash take. Honestly, my first reaction to it was like, I just thought it was like some shock jock shit. And I was like, he doesn't actually think that. There's no way he actually believes that Jon needs to apologize for taking time off to better himself. By the way, 3 months is also nothing in the scope of what wrestling is, and also in the scope of life. 3 months is nothing, so for him to go and do the things that he needed to do for himself, for our family, and for our daughter, that's for us. It's not for anybody else. And I could not be more proud of him for doing that in a business that is so notorious with addiction issues. Bully has not apologized for it, and I don't even need Bully to apologize for it, and I assure you, Jon could give a shit. It's annoying to even be talking about at this point. The fact that Jon is back in wrestling and he looks like $1 million and he feels good. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.